Conduit, conduit of the ground and sky, of the ground as skies. Ancient snow people of the timeless rise. So people, I messed it up. Okay, so youtube.com/user/Romulus Wall. This is Romulus Science. My name is Anthony Wall. Anthony Wall, you can also see my boxing videos, shadow boxing videos. But I'm also an academician. I'm going to reveal to you the proper way to explain, as syntax nature, as fact-cheating nature, American history and other countries' histories. Because not one country, thank God, this is positive, you see the negative in it, seen through the negative of it, that not one country has addressed. And all countries are self-valuing not having been addressed. How there were already criminally foreign influence. As actually recorded, tactically criminally foreign influenced acceptations of sciences as victims, per a method that knew they were going to have to react to nature itself, demonstrating negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures, in demonstration of the loss of the pathology of its identity of volume's perfect increase. It is self-generating. There are proofs that the ancients used science to reveal a story, not a story, in other words, a method of this, as the heartbeat of Allah. And this is with the Trinity, because it's discernible how it's one identity, as it is 5 identities of volume, as I explained in my video. It is simultaneously how it is a Trinity that is inseparable. So it is semi-nature 2 ways, by the one. And so how it is its identity of volume's relationship to itself, and how it is the value of that, is as the identity of relativity that is scientifically discernible. So part of one complete volume that was complete possession over all parts of existence / space. It pushed the part of the identity of the slash into existence, and simultaneously part of its identity won't leave its identity of relationship to itself, and the value of that. So it came out of it and went and made simultaneously the complete identity of everything at once more value, that simultaneously replaced and kept it as the same nature, but now non-distinctly, and simultaneously space nature. For example, part of space nature's complete identity was pushed out of it and into existence, and part of existence's identity was simultaneously invisible but still discernible, given that one identity of volume given to it, and it simultaneously replaced, keeps the other one, and the active is where that is delayed. It is a quality of diffusion back towards and as its complete volume. The only way it could stay, make more of its that identity of integrity through what can't be that as temporary, is by the value of what is simultaneous, and it is also with the value of what is. See, and that is down to where there are 1/3/5 identities of sequence / simultaneous nature. When that is not true, there is 1/3/ 5/7. And that's the value of what is 8, 9, 10. There are 3 identities of 0 that are being made as more and more forever nature that is positive or negative to itself is being made, while it is an identity that is bigger than infinity, where 1 through infinity is where and how more and more forever nature is being made. So, youtube.com/user/Romulus Wall. This is Romulus Science. The ancientgaming-system.com. Ancient Gaming System. This is already set up. It's an identity of the grounds, identity of relationship to our identity of volumes. Natural engineering. So it is necessary that we have this as a scientific value. The identity of relativity, a value/value progression. Inventions work or not in relationship to it. They are further positive or not in relationship to it. So we have to come to learn to understand what positive things as criminal insidious natures of positive are, and how this was forced, tricked, hurt, and persuaded, criminally legalized, to be perpetually exploited from while not being or not having been discerned from off all identity ground locations. Further valuing how that is further on off campuses, on off database relationships, on off sciences further, being and having been exploited. And all that was manifested as exploited. And all that was engineered through what had order through that. While that makes order. That makes values like unity or non-unity, A or B. It leaves out Trinity. The Trinity is simultaneously what divides, what unites, and what is a quality of diffusion onto 1/3/5. In other words, 5 identities of value/value progression that are increasing as value, where value equals value as nature/nature as value simultaneously. Discern. So each must learn. English was revealed to teach this. It is about, so it is not, you have to agree with modern religions. You have to agree to one name. But also have to follow. See, the value of sequence is being debated offensively, dishonestly, because of how all identity of the ground locations are made to self-value sequence shifts and illusions where that is being and having been exploited. So we have Wirecard acts and methods tied to roles with on-off database relationships, uses of identity of business postures, not really legal. You know, they have exceptions and exception nature set up simultaneously by this method that knew that, you know, people would be self-valuing all identities of the law, including regular citizens' opinions. We are a law. But now they have law originally and still. Like, for example, what witch trials about, even if they were made up, they're about where and how. All positions of integrity, all positions of sophistication were increasingly forced to be roles with what caused negative value nature progressions, acts of nature. But that wasn't their fault. But everyone simultaneously was forced, also tricked, hurt, persuaded to blame other things, others themselves, for those negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures. and then to defend that, having to use, handed right there for them, not by accident, extending criminal and seditious natures of positive roles and fact syntax nature styles, fact achievement nature styles, conviction natures, opinion natures. Oh, but I just meant this theater for this, or I just meant it for the advertisement, or I just meant it for the politics. Voting it's one thing. See, they separate subjects until we have the simultaneous identity of value/value progression allowed in short words. See, we have offensively, since everyone was kids, families of the law were kept with private database relationships with overt criminal enterprises at the same time. Hundreds of nations shared policing and training of policing were all those identity ground locations. Not by accident, they had all these means to bring the real causes of negative value, nature, progressions, action, nature, and other things others themselves wrongly. Then they defend that. Then they have to use more and more people's names, more and more people's areas as premises. No. They have to use color as a premise. Fake sides. The whole species wrong. It's about this predicate act delivery system method that forced sustained roles, that forced uses propagated what can't defend itself and afford the integrity of what could speak for our founding parents, who were in this trap where everyone had this be fake positive and fake negative, and layers short of being, if they even wanted to fathom coming out of it, they wouldn't be able to do it. Layers short of being able to do anything but present themselves as a tool by the breaching method to lock people further scared, further incapable, further tactically pseudo-educated, further as a raise, blaming other things others themselves, comparing each other, further all positions of sophistication, comparing themselves to overtly, tactically, criminally foreign influenced victim, human fact, achievement nature, opinion natures, conviction natures, per what is intercampuses of each age and nature. This conveniently had individually grouped together people blaming things like politics as a premise with opinions and convictions, then defenses of that with and as proper finite, proper correlation premises. So what we have to do is counter where and how. When little kids are in grammar school, they have and had the means, and even before that, to explain and to understand how America had a breaching method that was forced upon it. It was forced upon the Native Americans. It was forced upon the colonists A through Z. It was forced upon the Americans A through Z. The reason we didn't have and don't have proper legislation, syntax nature, fact-achieving nature, is because of how and what we lost to. And how it knew that all those nations lost to it too, and they would blame other things others themselves, and they did. And they do that as precedent statutes, tactically, criminally foreign influence, delusions wrought. We have to have experts on things like what a delusion is. This method knew that already used remotely. It knew that there was no way for them to pretend to be in sophistication, not be understood by the breaching method. Just because they fought against England, they could even get them on our side. Not one modern nation is in possession of its identity, but through the filter of where and how nations are individually grouped and together, forced offensively to pretend to be integrity onto all locations, as rolls with the uses of each person's identity individually grouped together in defense of that. More and more they have to self-value note simultaneously. Oh, American history, it's too complicated. It's a simple predicate acts delivery system method. It is simple uses of standing criminal and seditious natures of positive treatments and of negative treatments, and identities of people and of titles and of the ground locations, where and how all formal reactions are trained to be one way, and all exceptions in exception nature are having been engineered specifically to keep real exception and exception natures demonstrate, of course, by and as the identity of relativity, that which has an identity of relationship to itself, and the value of that which only increases as those 5 bonded identities of sequence nature. True sequence before the order of the finite now. The order of the finite now. Order of what is active now. That is where part of space nature was pushed out, part of its complete volume's value was pushed out of itself and into existence. And per a scientific method, since before modern religions, one proof is that and how simultaneously and increasingly passions and emotions forbid people to short words from demonstrating that and how there are misreadings of religions based on how they left out all the recorded knowns and vast physical delusions and criminally foreign influenced opinions and syntax nature, relationships, to and as what is defending also, and having defended statutes and precedents in those regards too, not just with the law formally, and everyone's perception of this. So if someone knocks, what's his name, Einstein, with the theory of relativity. See, now they have people pretending passions and emotions about science, but there is an identity of relativity. Again, it is the identity that inventions work or not in relationship to its identity of value, such value progression, and they are further positive or not in relationship to it. And so with what is progressive value, where it is standing value as sequence that came before this. So that's why it's so important to understand American history. A breaching method was sustained upon the Native Americans. It divided them. It separated them from the means, therefore, to build upon the revelations and upon the fruits and gifts of evolution that came from when sciences in ancient times, and still in semi-ancient times, before they became criminally foreign influenced. Then sciences became tactically criminally foreign influenced. Before that, all locations, areas, and states were affected by a method that knew they would show people that there was criminal foreign influences over the locations, areas, and states. And then they would make them react to it. And no one fathomed that they knew that they were going to be blaming other things other than themselves, because this is a method that used all identity ground locations. Since before computers, it was a database relationship but it was one that kept that by exploiting it through it and consolidating it in engineering, invisible but still discernible. Tactically, criminally, foreign influence, human syntax nature, fact-shaping nature, roles as a value progression that has to seek positive. Anyway, has to increasingly has obligations to make words for what the real cause /S, and it has to make correlation by the real cause /S for the negative value nature progressions, action natures. And these are native words. So increasingly, they have to make, if you are or are not actual Native American, you have to make address for how we are individually grouped and together, forbid the native system as truth by systems pretending to be truth, but that are offensively involved, excuse me, with live progressions from and with connections maintained between all ages and fact-retrieving nature, vertical and horizontally. Maintained because how that was is kept covered up. Self-valued how it already was is to all locations. So we had overt criminal enterprises, hundreds of nations, militaries, shared policing, schools, fire departments, medical. These are campus relationships, database relationships. Health, but now see, but we have people under the guise of health. Originally and still. And these are people that are identity the ground locations. Everyone speaks through others. So this is where we have, for example, then they have to hide the live progressions from correlation nature short words, which were swept. What voting can't do. All exceptions in exception nature are in demonstration of it. So we have to have mandated law followed. So there are people now involved with phone crimes. There is a Trantolo and Trantolo lawyers who have the word family recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with their roles with sequence shifts and with judges and prosecutors confirmed, demonstrated, recorded of attaching me and other people to faked audio and video with them and with WFSB. And with WTNH, and with Fox Connecticut News, also with people that are, since before federal criminals were caught in various natures of crimes. You know, I don't wish anyone to get caught by crimes, but those were people that were pretending other people were doing crimes. And those are people that were involved with stacking those illusions on campuses. They were pretending that they have rights to lie, because they have legislation that tells them they can lie about opponents during elections and stuff. They've been leaving out exceptions of exception nature, where they've been roles with, and with the uses of, through all juxtaposed different things, subjects no, so and names no, stacking predicate acts into databases, forbidding people's speech. They're attaching everyone and everyone around them to fake words about things. The only way you can demonstrate this is by allowing demonstration of the courts, judges, and prosecutors. Also recorded as victim predators, because they were abused by the same method that they were made to self-value, however. It's all right if they want to pretend other, have them do it on paper and not leaving out the sequence shifts. And they switch subjects. They separate subjects so they can establish lies and or the uses of truths as lies and or uses of delusions and or uses of their rules crimes, methods too, rules crime methods, offensively, interbranch, distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneously, individually grouped and together. And that is being and having been exploited. So these are connections between people that they themselves don't understand. Where they do understand it and how they do understand it, they have personal reasons, needs to hide their roles. With overt criminal enterprises simultaneously, private ones. Hundreds of other nations involved with the problem, /S. They're here, there too, against their own too. How they, and what is exploiting that? What is fluent through our nations? Knew that they would have to counter negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures by blaming other things, others themselves, for the real causes of negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures. So, knowing so we'll examine complete possession of the human fact sheet of nature through the ages individually grouped and together now. So I've been asking for a mandated law to be followed. So the agencies, there are FBI families that use that like that. Oh, we need to pretend we're integrity. And there are judges and prosecutors. Oh, we need to pretend we're integrity. But they are exploiting exceptions of exception nature because they are recorded, confessed, and demonstrated, confirmed, involved with method /S that are completely fact, cheap in nature oriented. So we have to discern that through how they're involved with this right now, on and off the campuses and right here. You know, with the locations associated with the Dillon family, Sean Dillon, Anna Dillon, Annie Dillon. She used this name. I don't know. I can't. Her real estate. Can't find her real estate company. It also involved with the judges and prosecutors, with police forms, former director of the FBI, and federal criminals associated with him and his defendant capacities, involved leading up to the World Trade Center and since, involved in that case and in other cases, also involved with the proven after the World Trade Center attack, proven right before the World Trade Center attack in the Ninth Circuit, from inside the Ninth Circuit, there had been post-dating of documents to make them look as if they had been handed in late. That proven led to a 2006 case and district court case in Connecticut. That was in Manhattan. The ones associated with predicate acts leading, that's right, right before that, Thaddeus Grabowski. I didn't know him at the time. He repeated threatening things to me and demonstrations of his roles with two Mendez police and with Allison Mulcahy. I don't know her sister's names and her family's name, and people associated with her, like down the street. There's a former mayor Gold, and they were involved also with people with colleges and universities that are involved with their child campuses and with people next to the campuses, where and how they kept and keep the executive branches and families roles with investigations themselves used remotely. You know, and where they don't know, but also where they do, is where they can't be honest. And they want to debate that over all things, but leaving out how they've been fabricating. They're leaving out all the evidences. So they're separating subjects and forcing things to courts that are already criminally involved with locations. Now these are so there are predicate acts that Wethersfield police are recorded involved with wire crimes, switching names over the past 4 months, and since before the coronavirus. These are locations crimes they have also further involved on and off the child campuses. And the campuses of CCSU and Trinity College also has people involved, forging names, switching names, falsified police reports. Before that, they were our roles also with the things in the background they do and don't know. They're pretending passions or emotions. Dozens of people from Wethersfield into Branch are involved with dozens of people just from Central Connecticut State University alone. And these are people that are also recorded, confessed, like Zano family and an Aiello family. and others, like a John Mayano, and recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved in a Oliveri family, and with Joshua Straker, and with Olsons. I don't know these people. They pretended other. They've been filmed exception. Like the Oliveri 5 times, like a handful of times. I know him only that they made all these confessions at once, and they make them about girls that you don't know. Then you're gonna go up and be like a little rat on people. Plus, they're making confessions, demonstration of their roles with the lipoaggressions, with sequence shift roles. When I was in grammar school, every once in a while, people would give me further insights into that. Because people that weren't in my class were fabricating audio and sequence shifting with a Debbie Gold. Never like approached me like an animal a couple times. I don't know why, but I figured out it was about one of the things it is true always, not denying exceptions, all exceptions in demonstration. Everything. Their roles with sequence shifts, which are also tied to them pretending passions and emotions and uses of that, because there's a former Mayor Gold, her father, Debbie Gold's father, and there's a legal. I never saw him even his face one time, but they're also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with a whole bunch of people tied to it. Joshua Julian involved also with the Facebook pages, with FBI, and with the CIA families and fire department families, involved with doctors, foreign and domestic, with medicines crimes, drugs crimes, and with judges of various natures of courts. And leading up to these cases and in them, they have further recorded, tied to a pattern of that proven known. And they know they have to hide about that. They have criminally foreign influence readings of statutes that left and leave out exceptions in exception nature. So we have, fake passions and emotions. All exceptions and exceptions in our demonstration of that. In relationship to also how real science would demonstrate how they have relationship to how there are 1/3. In other words, there is one nature, but it is more than one nature at the same time. For example, the identity of a cell is an identity of a cell nucleus, a cell body, and a cell wall at the same time. As value as nature as value, it is also two other identities of sequence / simultaneous nature coming through it. As it making more and more of its everything's temporary / lasting forever nature. Per its science, though native pure. And tied to all locations, in a way /s, I tell it best. That can't be afforded understood in the defenses of their summaries of why and how they part subjects, as the science is abridged, as victims, for time reasons, all kinds of reasons, frustrated, not needing to, in relationship to answers, in regards to the uses of the locations of the computer and of the programming of it, and how that is individually grouped and simultaneously, like everything, with what is value as nature / nature as value, more finite than that, while being its value as nature / nature as value, and while being greater than infinity, and while being the value of as infinity, making more and more of itself, forever nature. So English was revealed to teach this. So two semi-natures of a complete nature can't fit into and as what it can be an identity as temporary, semi-nature. And as a semi-nature can only stay complete nature. And this is where and how space is, the value of space is identity is constantly leaving it, while it is constantly coming in. And that is non-distinctly and simultaneously Earth's difference in relationship to the rest of space nature. Note where 3 years are 1,995 days. This couples with where our identity of value / value progression as Earth. It is 1/3/5. Identities of volume as value. As 3 identities of sequence nature. With as 2 other identities of sequence / simultaneous nature additional to that. And still inside the trinity of one identity's identity of volume, its identity of relationship to itself, in the value of that which is and was only increasing, was only increasing. And this how it was is only increasing since before any matter was generated. Its identity of volume as volume, its identity of relationship to itself, and the increasing value of that is where and how. Yeah, we'll examine this. So I finished my book on this. My computer's all messed up. Tell my everybody, but this is what it is. So each word spells out each letter spells out a word. Each word spells out a sentence. In English was revealed by and as an identity of sciences and uses of that, of their identity of relativity. 2, one identity of volume that is complete. One is a completely indivisible, but in relationship to how it is the only thing that bonds. 5, 1/3/5, distinct identities of invisible but still discernible sequence / simultaneous nature. Is the value of the order of sequence true before the order of finite. Is the value of the order of the finite. Is the value order of what is active. As a value simultaneously of what is its progressive, our progressive value. As a value / value progression. We walk around, we get up, we go where we're gonna go. Not originally and still not just righteously because the government has rules with it. Not just righteously because there's a fair system, because there never was a fair system. And why there is not a fair system is recorded being blamed on other things, others themselves, and with physical delusions, and everyone self-valuing roles with and as rules, crimes, predators. Uses of time, treatments, always too fast, too slow. To get over on forever nature, short words. To perpetually keep self-valued while pretending other. Long words of quality, prevented voice. So we have people of psychology who've been fabricating audio and video. They even they try to set up and even get away with it. Sometimes because of their roles with locations, areas, and states. Where they already had them originally still used defending people's identity. Well, of course, we're going to have police. You need a police. You need to say how they are good. You need to say how judges are good. We need that. This breaching method knew that we were going to need to say that. So do the people that are involved with the overt criminal enterprises and the private ones. Recorded how kept individually grouped and together, kept needed to hide the same sequence shifts. Finite active progressive lies, identity thefts, and frauds lies. Because be even more than with progressive value too, is identities not just beginning and end, but where and how. That is the tool of perception. This is where and how we are a semi-nature relationship, where we are a complete nature. Individual volume, grouped volume, and species identity of volume /S. Just like the cell nucleus, cell body, cell wall, they share a cell identity. And those cells share their cell walls, touching each other, building the body of value / value progression. And that is a semi-nature relationship to your identity, to its identity, the living thing. Boxing. This martial art, control your hearts. So, ancient snow people. Conduit of the ground as skies. Ancient snow people of the timeless rise. Go people. So people, I don't know, depends on the band, I guess. So which band would like to collaborate? Which band would allow me the honor of having you guys rock this song? Boxing is strong. So respond for your branches of government and for the foreign with it. I'm not going to leave that out. So they've been ducking behind this. These are people from my town that have roles with former director of the FBI in his defendant capacity. These are people, again, in the World Trade Center context. And since. So now they use their identity, the ground locations. Weathersfield Police recorded they have involved. They've been fabricating audio and video into their databases with other police forms, with the roles with the families members of federal criminals involved with our police forms in other countries with police, and then crazy readings of statutes that tell them to ignore such. That's because of how long it is connected to other things, inter-campuses and intra-campuses. But to address that, you also have to simultaneously address their uses of it off campuses. And you have to address the sequence shifts. Because this is where and how the foreign and domestic are in collusion originally and still. Witch trials and then defenses of roles with that and opinions in relationship to it, arrays of opinion used to measure and keep. Measure kept out and keep kept out. Anyone who brings up the predicate acts delivery system method. Anyway, they could refer to it as a breaching method. It was leveraged upon England per their roles with that which was sickly distinctly in the north and sickly distinctly in the south, with slavery, to keep from, not just to keep from being discerned how sickly non-distinctly, but how to keep how sickly non-distinctly the north and south were blaming other things other than themselves, and then defending that while fighting with all the people. Everyone has to fight or agree or be a criminal-ceaseless nature of unity, or address the predicate acts delivery system method, breaching method, that knew that they would blame others themselves wrongly when having to counter predicate acts, things like predicate acts, things like criminal-ceaseless natures of positive treatments and negative treatments, wherein how a whole bunch of names were involved with this at once. Identities are involved with this, every single one of them. So We'll examine.